What's going on, guys? Welcome to your IT journey. Today we're going to be talking about Microsoft Active Directory. This is part of a series that I'm going to be doing that's going to be teaching you essentially the skills that you're going to need for your help desk job. This is a beginner tutorial on Active Directory. What is Active Directory, things that we're going to cover that's included in what you're going to need for like a tier 1 help desk position. So let's get right to it. So Active Directory, skills you need to know for your help desk job. What is Active Directory? It's essentially a directory service that was created by Microsoft. Whenever a company has a domain created, Active Directory is a built-in tool to manage that company's domain. Active Directory, or for short, we like to say AD in the industry. We like our acronyms. So AD is used to manage the actual user accounts, account permissions, access to resources and services. A good example to understand AD at the fundamental level, when you join a company, they are going to create an account for you in AD. And that account that they create for you is going to actually enable you to log into your computer. The computer is going to be joined to the domain. So then people can start joining into, or they start logging into those computers using their AD accounts. Now within AD, they have things called objects. And these objects include user accounts, computer objects, groups, contacts, printers, and a bunch of other stuff too that we're not going to really delve into. So just to summarize, AD is just how a company manages their domain, the accounts associated with that domain, and access to different resources and services. Topics we're going to cover in this video is OUs, or organizational units, groups. There's two types of groups. There's security groups and distribution groups. We're going to go over how to create objects. So how are we going to actually create the user accounts, the groups, the computer objects, and the fundamental skills that you are going to be using at your help desk job pretty much every day. When you get into tier 1, enabling accounts, creating user accounts, putting them in the right groups, unlocking accounts that get locked out, and resetting passwords, that's a lot of what you're going to do. So that's what we're going to cover in this video. So to start off with, before we go into the AD, I'll show you how to do stuff. Also, if you hear my cat in the background, I'm sorry. What is an OU? So organizational unit. It is a container or a folder, because it's easier to imagine what an OU is, just thinking of it as a folder that contains other AD objects in it. So objects, remember, are users, security groups, printers, computer objects. So this is essentially a folder that has all those other objects inside of it. To me, having different OUs is a fantastic way to visually represent your company and logically organize the company into different sections. So if it's a big company and you have like offices in different locations, you can have an OU for each location, for example. And that's just an easier way to manage your user accounts, because you could have 1,000 users in the company and 500 can be on the West Coast in California, for example. 500 can be on the East Coast in DC. So when you have that many accounts, that kind of enterprise, that size, you absolutely need organizational units to help the admins and yourself better manage it and navigate, where to find user accounts and stuff like that in AD, which I'm going to show you. Another awesome thing about the OUs is you can assign different group policies to individual OUs, which is going to give you a much granular control. Again, this is a beginner tutorial, so we're not going to get into group policies right now. I'll have some more videos probably soon talking about some more advanced features. So, okay, what is a group? Security group. Here I said an object that can have user objects be a member of to give them specific permissions, access to only those users that are in that group. The security group can also be a member in another security group to give them more blanket permissions access. And I'll show you that. It's essentially just we're creating a security group object, and we can have user objects inside of those security groups. And for different tools that you're using in the company, you can assign different access controls to those tools based on security groups. So then we'll get into that. The other type of group is a distribution group. This is just mainly for what they call distribution lists. So you can create a distribution group and put users in that group. And then, for example, in Microsoft 365, you can create the distribution lists, add that distribution group in AD that you created, add that to that DL that you created in M365. And then when you start sending out emails, you can just indicate like, hey, I want to send an email to this DL. Like you'll literally type in that DL in Outlook and send an email to that, and it'll essentially send an email to every single person that's within that distribution list. And remember, that distribution list has a distribution group in it. And then we're going to cover the how-tos, creating different objects, how to add the objects into different groups, unlocking accounts, resetting passwords, and disabling accounts, and also enabling them when they get disabled. So this is my VM. I installed a Windows server on here so that I can show you guys Active Directory. When you get hired, you'll, on your computer that they assign you, that they give you, you'll have access to the Active Directory users and groups, users and computers tools, which will allow you to do the job. But right now we're just going to be I'm just using it on the Windows server that I installed. So this is Active Directory. This is what it looks like. So this is what you're going to see when you start working your job. On the left-hand side, we're going to have all the different folders and all the different OUs. And you can see the OU has a different icon than just the regular folder. Up here, with this icon right here, this is your domain. So right now, because you're watching Your IT Journey, I have the domain called yitj.com. Companies can call their domains whatever they want. Most of the time it's based on their company name, .com. So within this domain, we have a bunch of different folders, and we have a bunch of different OUs. For the purposes of this tutorial video, I created a separate OU within the youritjourney.com domain called yitj entertainment. For this example, let's just imagine Your IT Journey as a conglomerate, and I started an entertainment company. I have an extensive background in sound and lighting. I used to do a bunch of weddings, so it's just easier for me to come up with an example for that. So let's just imagine Your IT Journey as the main domain. This is like, it's my company. I have this overarching domain, and within that domain, I have different companies, different users, different computer objects that I need to all manage them. So this is my company, Your IT Journey Entertainment. So I created an OU for that. Now, within that OU, I separated it. Just like I said earlier in the video, let's imagine YITJ Entertainment as a really big company, and I have a bunch of users, a bunch of computer objects that I need to manage. For the purposes of security, I can't just give the same permissions to literally everybody that's in YITJ Entertainment. So that's where this whole AD management, creating OUs, creating user accounts, and security groups come into play. So let's imagine I have a California office and a Washington, D.C. office. So within YITJ Entertainment, within this OU, I created 2 OUs for that to signify the separate offices that I have. Now, let's just focus on Washington, D.C., because that's where I'm at. So then, taking it a step further, let's open up this OU that I created. Now, within the Washington, D.C. office, let's say I had a marketing team and a sales team, and then I had my technicians. Technicians, you know, like the guys that are setting up the sound and the guys that are setting up lighting. And that's exactly what I did. So within, taking it another step forward, within the DC technicians group, OU, it's an OU that I created under Washington, DC office. I created 3 more OUs to visually and logically separate, my lighting employees, the guys who are setting up the lighting, the guys who are setting up sound, And then I created an OU to hold computers. Like, let's say the employees all had their own computers, and then I wanted to create an OU to manage all those computers. Now, imagine if there's 1,000 employees in the Washington, D.C. office, 500 of them could be marketing employees. So when I create their user accounts, I'm going to be creating them in the DC marketing group. And then for future reference, if someone asks me to do something with, John Doe in marketing, I can easily open up Active Directory. And instead of sifting through a bunch of folders, I can say, okay, I know they told me that John Doe's in the Washington, D.C. office. He's a part of the marketing team. So I can instantly just open up Washington, D.C. dash office OU, and then open up the DC dash marketing. So then we would have a bunch of different objects. Now, when we're looking at these OUs, here's where the objects come into play. I already took it a little step forward. In the DC dash sound dash employees OU, I already created a user named John Doe. I'm just going to delete him right now so I can show you if I know how to work computers. So let's go to marketing. Now, here's where we're going to talk about the user objects. Let's say that I have a new guy starting on Monday. His name is John Doe. Now, when you're at your help desk, you're going to get an email or through your ticketing service, however you do it, you're going to get all the information that's pertaining to John Doe that's joining your company. Now, it's going to be your task to create his user account and then add him into all the respective security groups that's going to give him the access that he needs to the different tools and file shares and whatnot inside of the company. And don't worry, all that information is going to be provided to you because that's part of like the whole HR process is saying, this is John Doe, this is how you spell his name, this is where he's located, this is his manager, this is the computer that he's getting, these are the groups that he needs to be in so that he can have access to specific programs or tools and software and file shares and stuff like that. So let's say I got that ticket on the help desk saying John Doe is joining the marketing team. So I would go here into AD, expand all the OUs. I know that he's a part of the marketing team in DC. So I'm going to go here. This is really easy. You have options up here on the tool panel, or you can just right click. So we'll just right click and we'll go new, down here, user. Now this pop-up is going to show new object dash user. And guys, this is exactly what you're going to be doing on your help desk job. So they say the ticket's going to say his first name is John. So John on the first name, you're not going to really be doing initials. Last name is Doe. And then the full name panel is going to auto-populate. So his full name is going to be John Doe. Now, user logon name. This is exactly what it says, his logon at yourdomain.com. This is where you're going to essentially, based on your company's naming conventions, create that user's account. When you have an M365 tied into your enterprise, this is also going to automatically become their email. So in most cases, in most companies that I've seen, it's usually, the naming convention is usually first name dot last name at, whatever the domain name is. So in this case, we'll do john.doe at yitj.com. And then you see here, it auto-populated down here, user logon name. So this text right here signifies the domain name, and then the backwards slash, and then this auto-populated john.doe. So once I create this, when John joins, when he officially starts and he gets his laptop and he powers it on, connects to the network, on that computer logon screen for a username, there's two ways to do it. You can literally type in YITJ / john.doe and then his password. Or if it's a domain joined computer, it'll already be sensing or picking up that you're attempting to join into an account that's a part of the YITJ domain, or whatever domain that you're working for at the company. So yeah, John's going to open up his computer and he's going to type in YITJ / john.doe, or he'll just type in john.doe. Oh, also, I just want to also mention that in a lot of places, they'll also, instead of doing a logon name like this, they'll assign the person a numerical account name. So it'll be like 10538J or whatever. So that's what the person will be using to log on. So anyways, we're good here. We'll hit next, and then the password. So right now you are creating the password for the user. Now, this password that you're going to create, you're going to give to the user so that they can log on, and then they're going to have to change their password. You're not supposed to know their password, right? That's the whole security blanket that's a part of the whole cyber world. Like, we're not supposed to, on the IT admin team, you're not supposed to know users' passwords. We always have the ability to reset passwords and change them, but we're not supposed to know the passwords. So, I'm creating his user account. We'll start off with, I'll do welcome with the capital W 123. You're going to see this password like everywhere. So, confirm password, welcome 123. And then you're going to be presented with these 4 checkboxes. User must change password at next login. This is typically what you're going to do, because once you provide that user with this password, they're going to log in, and then if this box is checked, their computer is going to force them to change their password. So in most cases, this is always going to be checked. User cannot change password. I mean, obviously on a case-to-case basis, if there's a specific reason why you don't want this account's password to be changed upon the login, or at all, actually, you're going to check this. Password never expires. 99% of the time, we're not going to do this because that's violating security controls. Passwords most often have an expiration date, so people are forced to change them. Account is disabled. I mean, obviously, if we're creating this account, we're expecting the user to come in and log in, right? But for example, if we're creating the account way ahead of time, just to get ahead of the curve, for security reasons, we'll create the account, put the account in all the right memberships, all the security groups, but we'll disable the account just for security purposes. Right now, we're going to leave it unchecked because we want this account to be active. So hit next. And then this is just a summary page. Full name is John Doe. User login name is john.doe@yitj.com. The user must change password at next login. We're going to hit finish, and that's it. That is how you create a user account. It's that simple. So now John can technically open up his laptop that's joined to the domain and log in to his john.doe@yitj.com account, or just john.doe. So let's talk about situations where you need to unlock the account, reset password, or disable the account, or enable the account. So let me get back to my VM. So let's still talk about John Doe right now, because that's the account that we just created. Let's say John Doe logged in, changed his password, time goes by, and he submits a ticket to your help desk saying, hey guys, I don't remember my password. I can't log in. Can you please reset it? Or they'll just say, can you please change the password? Or can you please give me a new password? So, and this is awesome. Also, a good thing about the OUs is you say, okay, this is John Doe. He's on the marketing. Open up AD, navigate to the Washington, D.C. office OU, go to the DC-marketing OU, and then we see John Doe, his user account right here. Now he said, or the ticket's saying, can you reset my password? Can you change my password? Whatever it is. The point is he doesn't know his password. So we're going to, it's really simple. We're going to right click, go to well, I was going to go to all tasks, but you can see it right here, reset password. So reset password. Now a pop-up's going to come, new password, confirm password, and then that same checkbox, user must change password at next login. Then you have account lockout status on this domain controller unlocked. So this is essentially picking up whether his account is locked or not. If he didn't remember his password, and a part of the rules in your domain said after 5 failed password attempts, lock the account. And that's what happened to John Doe. This will say locked. So then you can just check this box, unlock the user's account. So at the same time you're resetting the password, we're going to unlock his account. But so, yeah, he said, you know, I forgot my password. Can you please change it? So we'll just change it to like welcome1234, because the original password we gave him at the time of the creation was welcome123. I didn't change the account, or the password never changed, so I can't do welcome123 right now. But so we're doing welcome1234. Hit OK. Now the password for John Doe has been changed, and that's it. Now you've just completed the main bulk of that ticket. The next step is, after you've changed that password, you respond to that ticket, or you send an email, depending on how you're working it, saying, you know, hey John, thanks for submitting your ticket. I've reset your password. Please find your new password below. Please note that the password must be changed upon your next login. And then you just put the password in that email, or you put the password in the ticket. Don't worry about that being a security concern, because the password is going to be changed. But different companies have different ways of transmitting that password to the user once it's been created or reset. So cool. So that's how to reset passwords. It's really that simple. Now let's say time goes on and you get a ticket saying, hey, John Doe is leaving the company. Can we please disable his account? Remove all access, however they want to word it. Come into AD, same game, DC marketing, find John Doe's account, right click, disable account. Object John Doe has been disabled. Bam. Now nobody can log into this account. Now I'll give you this tip. In most cases, you are not going to be deleting user accounts. You're not going to be deleting that. Because this is a beginner video, we're not going to go deep into it, but essentially in the IT world, you'll find that deleting is not the go-to method. It's always disabling or just pretty much, or deactivating, because you never know what repercussions deleting is going to have. Because once you delete, in most cases, you can't go back. You can't revert that change. Now, if you have backups, that's a whole different story. But for right now, for this purpose and for what you're going to be doing on the job, you are going to be disabling accounts. So that's it. You've disabled it. You've already knocked out that ticket. You can respond to the ticket saying, hello, John Doe's account has been disabled. Please let me know if any issues come up. And then it's essentially the same process backwards. If you get a ticket saying, hey, John Doe's back at the company, can we please get his account re-enabled? Same thing, find his account, go here, right click on his account name and enable account. Bam, that's it. So now his account has been enabled. Another thing we want to talk about, which is a little bit different than the disabling, is earlier I just mentioned that you could have a policy in your domain that says after 5 failed logon attempts, lock the account. So then you'll get a ticket that says, hey, I tried to log in and this is the error message that I'm getting. It says my account's locked. Can you please assist? Or can you please unlock my account? You're going to go over here. If the account is not disabled, meaning it's enabled, there's not really a way to see that it's locked from just looking at here. I mean, I could be wrong. Let me know in the comments if that's not true. But let's say if somebody said my account's locked, we can go here, we can double click. And this is the overall properties for this user account. We'll get into that too. And you can go over to here to the account panel. And if the account is locked, it'll tell you right here that the account is locked. And then all you're going to do is just check that and hit OK. Then you can respond to the ticket saying, hello, John, your account has been unlocked. Please attempt to log in and let me know if you're successful, or whatever, however you want to phrase that. So those are the main things that you're going to be doing on a daily basis. 100% is resetting passwords, changing passwords, disabling accounts, enabling accounts, and creating the user objects. Now, let's take it a step further. Let's go back to the ticket that you got saying, can you please create John Doe's account and add him to these security groups to give him access? Because this is a tutorial video. Obviously, I don't have like a grand scheme of AD setup, but it's the same premise. It's the same method to doing that. Just in that ticket that they give you, they're going to give you the groups that the user needs to get added to. Here in my Washington DC OU, the overarching OU that's containing the marketing, sales, and technicians OUs, I pre-created these security groups. They have different icons than just the regular user. It's 2 people instead of 1. So these, and you can see here in type, it'll signify security group or distribution group. I created the distribution group. But let's, so we're still talking about John Doe. You got the account, you created the account. Now the ticket says, add him to these security groups. And twofold, I'll also show you how to create the security group, because I didn't create one for the marketing. So, oh, my cat's on the table now. Let me show you how to create a security group. So again, you can use the panel up here. I like doing the right click. It's just much more fun. So right click, we're going to go to new and group. So earlier in my slides, I told you that there's 2 types of groups, security and distribution. The distribution is the distribution groups for emails. So we're not doing that. You can't assign permissions and stuff like that to distribution groups. So 99% of the time you're going to be creating or just, interacting with security group types. But this is how you create a security group. So, again, based on the conventions of the company that you're working at, right now we're dealing with John Doe, who's a part of the marketing team. And you can see that I already created some security groups right here. So I'm going to follow the same naming convention. So we're going to go DC marketing. So it's as simple as that. We just created the DC marketing security group. Sorry, my cat is just distracting me. So we just created the security group for DC marketing. Now, the security group, if you have like something like a file share or a specific software or tool in your enterprise, it's going to be integrated with AD, because that's how you're going to be managing the permissions for people using that software. And the cool thing about the security groups is, let's say we had a file or a folder that's being shared, and you have this folder and you only want people that are on the marketing team to be able to access this shared folder. Now, in the folder properties, you can literally designate different security groups, and whoever is in that security group is going to gain access to that folder share. Let's say we only wanted the marketing people to access that folder. So in that folder share properties, we would designate DC marketing. Now, in that ticket that you got for John Doe, it's saying, please add him to the marketing team to give him access to all the marketing resources. So there's 2 ways you can do this. You can find the DC marketing security group, or you can go to his user object. Just for the sake of this purpose, because we're dealing with the user accounts, we just created John Doe. We're going to double click, open up these properties, and we're going to go to up here, member of. This is a default membership domain users. We're going to leave that. I mean, that really just depends on your admins that set up the AD. For this purpose, we'll leave domain users there. But so member of, in this box, this is going to show you all the groups that this user is a part of. Obviously, we just created John Doe, so he's not part of anything except the default domain users. Now, it said, hey, can you please add him to marketing? So we're going to go to add. And then this this box is going to show select groups. You can type in the name of the group that you're looking for, or you can hit advanced and then search that way. We'll do it both ways for right now. So we know that the group is called, in the ticket it'll show DC marketing. So we'll just type in DC marketing. It's not case sensitive. So we'll just do DC marketing. You can hit check name or you can hit enter. So we hit enter because it already found, or because we typed it verbatim exactly what the name of the group was. As soon as you hit enter, it's automatically going to select that group and add John Doe into that group. So now you see member of DC marketing. So now John Doe is he is inside the DC marketing group. That's how you just hit remove with the name highlighted. I just wanted to show you the other way. So we typed in DC marketing. You can hit check name and it'll automatically correct what you're looking for. And when you see like that change happen with the underline, that means this is an official object that the select groups pop-up just found. So again, we can hit OK. Let's do it the other way and hit advanced. And this is just the other way that we can find the groups. So name start with, we'll just type in DC marketing, find now. So this is really cool. This is just a nice, like, better visual representation. DC marketing is down here. So we highlight it, hit OK. And again, it populates right here. And we're going to hit OK. And bam. We have DC marketing here. We can hit apply or we can hit OK. All right. So we've just added John Doe into the DC marketing. So now by doing that, John Doe is going to have access to all the resources and software tools that are associated with this security group, DC marketing. So that's how you knock out that ticket, asking for adding a user to a specific marketing group, or just a part of the whole creation process when you're actually creating the user. So that's the security groups. Now, if we double click, I just wanted to talk about the general AD properties. If the ticket holds all this information for you while you're attempting to create this John Doe account, then go ahead and fill it out. I mean, I've seen in other AD environments where people are not really doing this. I personally wish they would, because they would just provide some better information. I mean, John Doe, we can say, like, for description for him, he's a marketing specialist or whatnot. He's a part of the marketing team, but what office is he in? He's, so he's in the Capitol Hill office. Telephone number. If you had a telephone number, put it in there. Email, like maybe like a personal email. Don't worry about web page right now. Address. I mean, if you wanted to put a personal address or the address of the office that he's in, or the user's in, you can fill out all this information. This account panel is where you're going to be doing most of your work. We already talked about that. For right now, we're not going to worry about the logon hours and log on to. Account expires. It's usually never. You can do end of and designate an actual time. Maybe if it's like a contractor and John Doe's only going to be at the company for a year, you can automatically set this account to disable at that time that you designate. And these are the account options that you specified when you created his user account. So don't worry about it right now. We already went over the unlock account. Don't worry about profile. Organization. This is a really cool one. We can type in his title, if I can type. Department. We know he's marketing, but we also know that because of the OU that we put him in. Company, he's with YITJ. Or if he was a contractor, we can, if he's a part of like a contracting company, we put him in the YITJ company. Manager. This is a really cool thing that I wish I saw in more environments, because then you can know who the user reports to. If the user is, for example, like not responding to some tickets or not responding to emails, and you wanted to quickly find out who their manager was, and if it was filled out here, You can look through here. There's other ways to find that though, so not a big deal. Member of, again, this is just all the members that the user is a part of. We won't talk about this stuff right now. So yeah, you're mainly going to be concerned with this panel, the general address and account and profile, or actually not profile, but account, address in general, and member of. So yeah, so now we've created John Doe's account. We've put him in the requested security group. I showed you how to unlock his account, reset the passwords, disable it, and enable the account. Let me show you the other potential objects that we can create, specifically a computer object. We can talk about the computer object. Now let's go into, I already created an object right there, so let me just quickly delete that. Let's say we're talking again about the DC office. You have the DC marketing, DC sales, and DC technicians. And then inside the DC technicians OU, we have lighting employees, sound employees. And then I created a specific OU for DC technician computers. So when you join a computer to a domain, AD is automatically going to create a computer object for that computer that just joined the domain. So most of the time, you're not really manually creating computer objects, but because of that process of automatically creating a computer object when it joins the domain, if you have 1,000 computers that are just joining the domain and, you know, every single day, and they're going to the default containers, you can lose the computer objects pretty quickly. It's going to get annoying. You're going to have to move it around. One advantage to avoiding that is manually creating the object for the computer. So let's say, and we're still talking about John Doe. Let's say that John Doe is starting on Monday, and we imaged a brand new computer for him, and we're setting it up right now. And we got a ticket that says, you know, please create a computer object for John Doe. So we would go into this OU that's specifically designated for DC technician computers, because we know that also John Doe is now a technician. He's not a part of the marketing. So we know that John Doe's a technician in the DC area, and he's getting this computer. Now we're setting up the computer. So we're going to go here and again to new, and it's called computer object right here. So you're going to get this pop up. Your company is going to have computer standing conventions, naming conventions for the computers. For this purpose, we'll say DC technician, or we'll say DC tech PC 001. So most of the time, these naming conventions will tell you exactly what you need to know about these computers. We know the computer's in DC. We know it's a technician's computer. We know that it's a PC. We know that it's a computer. 001. So like this is the first computer in this, you know, group of computers that we've created. This name will auto-populate. You have this default right here, user or group. It says here that the default is domain admins. We're not going to do that. We'll talk about that later, but just for this purpose, I'm going to change this. Also, if you go to the advanced and hit find now without specifying something, it'll just show you every single thing. Be careful about doing that in a massive AD structure, because then you are going to get everything. And that could take a while or cause some problems. This is not entirely relevant right now. But I just want to put this computer into the domain computers group right here as a default. So when I create this, it'll automatically be inside the domain computers. So hit OK, and then bam, we've just created the computer object for John Doe's computer. It's called DC Tech PC 001. Now, again, with this being a computer object, you can do all sorts of things pertaining to permissions specifically aimed at this computer. When it comes to group policy, you can have group policies for accounts, or you can have group policies for computers. So double click again. We're going to open up the properties for the computer object. You can fill out this stuff. Most of the time, you're not going to see that. Operating system if you want to. Member of. So the same thing with the user accounts. Security groups. You can have security groups specifically for assigning permissions and access to different resources for the computers. So this computer by default is a part of the domain computers. This is the built-in default group that was created when the domain was created. Let's see, for my DC, I just want to see if, so I created a security group called DC computers. So again, for structural reasons, for organizational purposes, this security group could have inside of it all the computer objects that are in the DC office. Right now, I have an OU for DC technician computers, but I could have one for DC sales as well. So if I hit right click on here and I said new, this is how you create an OU. You just go to organizational unit. And I would type in DC sales computers. Hit OK. Now, I didn't give it the same naming standard as the other one. That's how you change the OU name. You can just click it, left click it, or you can right click and go to rename. Please be careful about doing that on the job. Right now, there's no repercussions to me doing that right now. So definitely do not rename OUs and stuff like that. It's pretty much a tip. If you are hesitant about doing something, if you even think in the slightest that this change that you're making could mess things up, do not do it. Get approval from a manager or someone that's overseeing the activity that you're doing. So we just created the DC sales computers OU. That's if I had an OU for DC sales. So now I also have OU for DC technician computers. And I have this overarching DC computer. So this would just be a computer object group for all DC computers. So if I go back here to DC Tech PC 001, go to members, go to add. I can make it a part of that DC. What did I call it? DC computers. Yeah. So DC computers. So now hit apply or hit OK. So now DC Tech PC 001, the computer object for it, is a part of DC computers, which is right here in the Washington DC OU. You'll notice that when you're clicking on these OUs, the OU itself could have security groups or objects inside of it, as well as the different OUs too. So just like, for example, the DC technician computers OU has this computer object in it, I could have created an object in DC technicians, which won't show if I just clicked here. It would only show if I clicked here on DC technicians. So just be mindful when you're looking for stuff. If you can't find it in the appropriate OU that you're looking at, just try to browse around a little bit. So yeah, that's the computer object. So now that I've put it inside of the DC computers security group, and mind you, we're still setting up John Doe's computer, right? So now that I've put I've created the computer object for DC Tech PC 001, whoever is setting up John Doe's computer, when they're joining it to the domain, they're going to name it DC Tech PC 001. And once it hops onto the domain and the domain controller recognizes it, that computer is automatically going to be placed in the security groups that you're putting it in. And it's automatically going to get assigned to the permissions that it needs. The correct group policies are going to be pointed at it and applied to it. So it's just a way to get ahead of the curve. You might be in a situation where you're not doing that, but that's just something to keep in mind. We did talk about distribution. Also, this is a filter up here. If same thing in general for computers is just sifting through, sorting. I did create this distribution group, and it's the same method of how to create that. Is you go to the groups and you go to distribution and you give it a name. Just like any other, just like a security group, you could put members in here. And if, your M365 admins, or your Exchange admins, when they are creating their distribution lists and they're in the process of adding people into that distribution list, they can literally just, with a couple clicks, put DC employees DL, in this case, put the DC employees DL in that M365 DL group that they just created, and then their job's done. Can you imagine not having this distribution group and you needed, your admin is creating a DL that needs to send an email to 1,000 employees? That person is not going to manually add 1,000 employees into that DL in their Exchange portal. They just want to, couple clicks, add the DC employees DL and call it a day. So that's the purpose of the distribution groups. Something we didn't talk about, that I mentioned in one of the slides, is how these security groups, not only can they have members, this is the DC marketing group that we added John Doe into. So you can see that John Doe, we did it the reverse way, where we went into John Doe's user account and we manually added him into DC marketing. But now I'm looking at the DC marketing DL, the DC marketing security group, and you can see that it displays John Doe. So now if there was multiple users in here, by double clicking this and looking at the properties, you'll be able to see all the different members that are in this security group. So, for example, we had 10 users that were in this DC marketing security group, but there was some kind of permissions that, some kind of blanket permissions that needed to be applied to all of YITJ's entertainment users, some kind of access that needs to be granted to every single person in the YITJ entertainment organization. As you can see, I created a security group called YITJ employees. So this is just the regular security group, right? So in this security group, in the properties, you can see there's members and then there's also member of. So earlier I mentioned that security groups can also be members of other security groups. And this is just a way to either trickle down permissions and apply it to a wide range of groups, or roll back up. So I can do it the other way. It's probably just a little bit easier for this purpose. But I have, these groups right here: DC Techs, DC Sales, DC Marketing, DC Computers. But we're not going to worry about DC Computers right now. But let's say we have our marketing team, our DC Sales team, and our DC Techs team. Let's say there's 100 users in each of these security groups. But now I wanted to designate some kind of permission to all of those users that are in this DC Tech, DC Sales, and DC Marketing groups. Now, just like with the example of the M365, we're not going to manually add. I'm not going to go here and create a group and manually add all those users. That's going to take forever. We don't want to do that. So I created this security group called YITJ employees, and we're going to go into here and we can add those different security groups as a member of this security group, or we can go this way and go to DC Techs, open it up, go to member of, because I want to show you the member of. Add. Now we're going to search for the security group that's above the security group. And in this case, it's going to be the YITJ employees. So remember the multiple ways you can do this. Type in YITJ employees, hit check names, and bam, we just found this that security group that I created, YITJ employees. So now we've just made it we've made this DC Techs security group a member of the YITJ employees group. So hit apply. Now we're going to do the same thing to DC Sales. So we're going to find YITJ employee, hit OK. DC marketing, go to member of, YITJ employee, hit apply, hit OK. So now we've just added those security groups. We've made them a member of a different security group, a roll-up group. So if we go to the YITJ Entertainment OU, you can see the security group. And remember before I said that these OUs could have different objects within them that you're not going to see in the other objects. Like, for example, I have the YITJ employees security group here, but if I click on another OU, I'm not going to see that same security group. So it's only contained within this folder. The left-hand side of the AD panel is for navigation, but each object can have its own different objects in there, as well as these folders that trickle down into different OUs. So YITJ employee security group, we're going to double click. We go to member of, and we see that there's nothing in the member of, because that means this YITJ employee security group is not a member of another group. But bam, we go to the members tab and we see what we just did. We just added the DC marketing, DC sales, and DC techs security groups within this YITJ employees group. So now your admins, if they want to grant some kind of permissions or access to resources, they could literally just in their software and their tools and the file share, whatever it is, just say, hey, I want to give this YITJ employee security group access to this resource. And by doing that, that means every single person in this YITJ employees security group is going to get access. Now, if you go to members and you see that all we have is security groups in there, again, this is the trickle down. Now, within this panel, you can also expand other objects. So we can double click DC marketing. So now that means every single person in DC marketing is going to have YITJ employees permissions applied to it. So DC marketing has John Doe. So at the end of this all, that means that John Doe now has the access to whatever resources or tools that the admins wanted to give to the YITJ employee security group. So as you can see, this can get really confusing. If you're at a big enterprise or a big company, the AD structure can be massive. And that is, it's all circling back. That is the importance of OUs, is to logically and visually organize your company. Because if you are on the help desk or you're an admin and you are trying to do something in AD and there's 1,000 users, 5,000 users, 5,000 computer objects, printer objects, contact objects, it's a nightmare. It could be a nightmare unless the structure is very cleanly and efficiently organized. And by doing that, you need the OUs. Yeah, that's kind of my explanation on AD for beginners. I think we probably covered some stuff that you're not going to really need to be concerned about as a beginner. Stuff that you don't really need to worry about working a help desk tier 1 job. Tier 2, yeah, there's some more advanced features that you'll need to delve into that we'll delve into some later videos. Really quickly before I wrap this up though, let's say, you know, the AD structure was massive and you were just lazy or whatever. I mean, it's not really lazy, right? It's a shortcut. You can right click on this domain, on the actual domain. I guess we'll just call it an object, yitj.com, right click and go to find, and you're going to have this thing pop up. Now, let's say you got a ticket that is asking, hey, what groups is John Doe a part of? Now you can take the method of going through all those OUs and finding John Doe's user count, or you can right click here and just hit the find and just type in John Doe and hit find now, and bam, John Doe's right here. Double click and now we can open up his properties and look at all the groups that he's a member of, or whatever that you need to find, you know, or unlock his account or reset his password or whatever you need to do. One thing to note though is up here, find. These are sort of filters for what you're looking for. If you got a ticket asking to look up some kind of information for that computer that we created for John Doe, and we typed it here, we hit find now, and it's going to say no items match the current search. And that's because you're telling AD to look in all the users, contacts, and groups. But this is a computer object that you're trying to find. So you're going to go here, go to computers. This is annoying. I said this will clear your current search results. So computer name, or you can search by owner, which is actually really cool too. DC Tech PC001. Find now. Bam. So now we just found it. You can double click, expand the properties, and do whatever you need to do. You could also you don't have to type in the full name. You can hit find now. I mean, if there's other DC Tech computer objects, it'll display them all. It's also not case sensitive. So DC Tech PC, enter or hit find now. It'll show you. But just to wrap it around, guys, right here, how to enable, disable an account, unlock accounts, reset passwords, creating the user objects, and dealing with security groups. And that is like 90 or 80% of what you're going to do at a tier 1 help desk job. There's going to be some troubleshooting, but we'll talk about that stuff later too. I want to keep this specifically for Active Directory for beginners. But guys, these are skills that you are going to legitimately be using at your job. So you've watched this video, you stuck with me for an hour, and you paid attention, or you can just go back and rewatch or whatever. If you stuck with me for this long, you just learned how to do things that people are getting paid $45,000-$50,000 for. So thank you. I appreciate you guys sticking around. If you liked this content, if you learned something, please subscribe, please like, leave some comments. I do have a Discord that I'm throwing as much knowledge that I could possibly throw. I'm just putting it in there for free. Mainly talking about how to get into the IT industry. And that link is in the description. So feel free to hop in and we can talk and discuss. I also am starting a mentorship program for one-on-one teaching, essentially guiding people to get their jobs into help desk, and then essentially lead them to the fork in the road. So if that's something you're interested in, please join the Discord and reach out to me, or you can leave a comment. But yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate you sticking by, and enjoy the rest of your day. Hope you learned something.